And welcome everybody to the Critical Blast live stream. I am your host for the night, RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com, author of The Destroyer Bully Pulpit and Monumental Terror. And we have got a great show lined up for you guys tonight. We are talking with comic book creator Von Klaus and Martina Markota, who are behind the newest yet long-running campaign, Lady Alchemy. And we're going to get into all of what that's about and where it's come from and why it's this suddenly longest running overnight success you'll ever see. So please welcome to the show with me, Martina Markota and Von Klaus.
Hello.
Hey. How's it going?
How are you doing tonight?
I feel critically blasted already by you, RJ.
You know, I never lived up to that title. I think I've given out 2 F ratings in my entire life, and they were well deserved.
I believe it.
Except
We're
Rich
cool.
Johnston.
Yeah, always blast Rich. He needs it. It's good to see you, man. Thanks for having us on.
Glad to have you guys here. Martina, you are the titular Lady Alchemy. So this is sort of you're a character in your own book.
Yeah. I'm either Martina or Lady Alchemy, depends on how you catch me. Yeah. So the book is about me. I know it's strange. It's a strange thing, but I always saw my performance persona as a comic book character, and I think it just fits with the world.
Now, I don't know what it is exactly you do. I know it's performance art. I've seen some of the noirish kind of smoky pictures where you got like a Columbia outfit, and by Columbia I mean
Columbia. Yeah.
What is that all about, and why did you decide to add this crazy, messed up world of comic books to that?
Yeah, well, I call it performance art. I worked in New York City. There's a little bit of burlesque, so I think some people know what that's about. But I like to go a little bit more avant-garde, like you said, the goddess Columbia outfits. I love like religious imageries, like flowing fabrics and headdresses, and just something really elegant and beautiful like that. So I would do either burlesque in that kind of aesthetic, or what's called ambient work. So I would show up at parties. I've worked like Google holiday party. I've done like Xerox holiday party, like crazy parties in New York City. And they just like, I don't know if you've gone to any events like this, but really expensive parties. They want like entertainment. There's always like a contortionist in the corner there, or, fire breather over there. So they would hire Lady Alchemy, and I'd show up in crazy costumes and just, prance around and smile and take pictures. So that's really what it is.
So it's cosplay. Okay.
Yeah, it's cosplay, but like I do my own like costuming. And like I said, I always thought of it as a comic book character. I run around at night, which New York City is like Gotham City to me. And I wear costumes, and I'm athletic, and it just fit, and it made sense. And I always wanted to do it like a decade ago, but it required like at least 10 grand to hire the writer, the ink, colorist, all this stuff. And I was like, well, I don't have 10 grand for a comic book, so that's not happening. But then Comicsgate happened, and the Indiegogo campaigns, and it was the opportunity to make it happen.
There's an entirely new paradigm, which is a long and winding road that we'll get to, that brought you to Von Klaus, who made a name for himself quite recently with the Monster MD blockbuster. Yes, I speak for a living.
Blacken
so
and blustin. I believe the wondrous Adam Post helped play middleman to find a good writer for her. And when he asked me, I immediately said yes. And I'll tell you why. I had already backed the book, and I want to make sure this comes out so I get my copy. But no, more so, I could figure out what it was about. I felt like its concept was really solid and really my style, So I really wanted this job. And I was really happy when I got it, because I didn't know for a minute there if I was going to get it. And we immediately started working on it and have got a nice script churned out. Martina turned in to me what was like a really solid outline. And it's been awesome working with her ever since. I mean, it's been smooth sailing, actually.
Now, it was an unusual campaign to come onto, because this is a pre-backed book that you're just now starting.
Yeah, that I backed.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I don't want to get into too much drama, but I do owe it to people to explain. But we started the campaign with a friend of mine that was originally doing the art, and he got his buddy to help write like the script. But it was one of those things where I don't think Comicsgate or the comic book industry is unfamiliar with it, but a lot of drama ensued, a lot of clashing personalities. They weren't really taking the story that I wanted to tell for a long time. They kind of decided to use my name and my platform and the money I was raising to do whatever they wanted to do with my name and my reputation. And it just got to a point where a year in, I was like, this isn't working out. This isn't what I want. This isn't the story I want. The artwork's not really coming in at a reasonable rate. And I had to rip the Band-Aid off and say, I'm starting from scratch. And I'm actually really happy that I did that, because I don't think people would be happy with the book the way that it was going. And now I get to tell my story, and something that I'm proud of, something that I'm like, yes, this is what I want. I'm happy about this.
So this is your story. Vaughn, you're writing it. What's the process like there? So is it like she says, this is what it's about, and you say, I can write a story to that? Or do you have to, there'd have to be a lot of collaboration back and forth doing this.
Well, if I can interject 1 second, sorry, Vaughn. I thought that since all that money I wasted on the artist, my former team, and all this stuff, I attempted to say, I'm going to write it myself. So I was trying to like legitimately write it, but I got to an outline and I storyboarded the entire kind of outline of the story, trying to be my own writer. But then I got to a place where I was like, I don't know what words go on the page. I know what the story is, but I don't know what words I'm supposed to get on the page. And that's where Adam Post was like, you need a writer. Like, you just do. Like, suck it up, get a writer.
Good call.
Yeah. But yeah, sorry, continue on.
Yeah, so she sent me, all the things you should, like inspirational images, image boards, it's her storyboards, everything she had done. Here it is, here's what I'm going for. And then she gave me an outline, and it was a solid little like 40-page outline. She did it page by page. And I was like, dude, this all works. Like, before she sent it, I was a little nervous because I was like, you don't know what you're getting yourself into. You don't. And she's coming out of this other version of the book that was just a huge mess, So I'm like, okay, let's see what I have to work with here. And oh, lucky me. It was a solid outline, great visuals and ideas. And so my job was really about restructuring here and there, but not much, and then making things cooler. That's it. Like, how do I make this thing, that idea that she had, even more visually cool for a comic? How do I make it flow? And then writing, of course, good dialogue, adding a little bit to the characters here and there. And she, of course, approved all of it, was part of our process. She had just worked with people who didn't care if she approved anything. They just did what they wanted and kind of railroaded her, and they were also misleading her about comics. And so when I started working with her, she was like, so how does it work? She was like, she was starting from square one, and she still had an awesome attitude and worked her ass off on it. And we got it done quick, I remember. Yeah. And I just sent her a few drafts of the scripts and just told her what my ideas were. And she approved everything as we went. And here we are now.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty easy, because as long as it was all of the bullet points that I wanted, I was pretty flexible of like, yeah, make it more of a character, give them whatever dialogue you want. But every element that I said, this is what's important to me to be in there, was in there. So from that point, it's pretty easy. Same with the art, the new artist that we have. He sends me things, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, looks good. Happy about it.
The artist on too. That was my mistake there. We should have had the artist on.
Oh, it's fine. I think he's busy drawing, and he's kind of like, don't worry about it. I'm just going to do my thing.
He's a great guy. I've known him for years. Dario is an amazing artist, and we talked maybe back in, it might have been 2007. Okay. Maybe a little after. like we talked about working together, and then of course we never did. We haven't talked in forever, and he was so nice when I messaged him again, and I was like, hey man, I'm looking for an artist, can you help? And he's like, I'll look around and see what's out there. And then the next day he was like, I got laid off, COVID. And I was like, you want a job? No, I didn't even say, do you want a job? I said, you're drawing Lady Alchemy. And he did. He took us on.
Now, Martina, how close is this 40-page outline that you delivered to the original 40-page outline that you initially started working with?
Oh God, I don't know, Vaughn, you also read it. I mean, I would say it's nothing the same at all. In fact, it wasn't even 40 pages. They were like trying to extend it to 60 pages. And then they were like, oh, this is actually half the book. Like we need to do a book 2 to finish the script. It was just a long run-on sentence, I would say, was the old script. The only thing that I think they did use that like was like me and my contribution was Lady Alchemy, the character, and going to the nightclub, which is where I worked in real life. It's my real life. So that was the thing really was they're both like had a nightclub scene that introduces the story. But other than that, it just ran around as like one long run-on sentence. And the artist inserted himself into the book and he became the main character. And Lady Alchemy was like, oh, I can't do it without you, you know, kind of thing. So it's very different. It's very different. And
what
in fact,
happened? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, just a huge difference, I would say, too, is that I introduced, instead of this character that he self-inserted, I actually created a title for this book, which we never had, and I titled it Mutus Liber. And that is a real alchemical... What?
The silent book.
Yes, the silent book. It's a real alchemical text, which I actually have held in real life before after I created the story. And that's like a huge major difference, is that we introduced this book, which is the catalyst of, I mean, the other story also didn't have any alchemy. So this introduces the Mutus Liber, and that is what kind of unlocks her to understand her bloodline. That's another major difference. They refuse to listen to me about the bloodline thing. Is really important to me. I'm all about like Nephilim and special blood and everything. So that's what unlocks the information about her blood and how to like do spells and summon archangels for all these alchemical, you know, things.
Processes.
I had a few years of Latin that have stuck with me, and I was glad to see that she was holding the book. So I was like, oh, context, because like English, there's a lot of words in Latin where it means something entirely different on its usage and declension. And I was like, okay, I know that Martina's done political kind of thingies. This might be, you know, Mutus Liber might be silenced freedom, which is another interpretation of Mutus Liber.
Right.
But it's about the magical book. So.
Right. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, because Liber could be like libertas or something, like liberty. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Yeah, no, it's a real book that was written in like 1677 or something, and it has a lot of alchemical imageries. It's called the Silent Book because it's mostly pictures. It's like a picture book.
Comic book.
But
why not?
like a comic book. So.
You know
There's
what happened to her?
It's really fun.
It's like a tale as old as time, man. Like people, they railroad you and they you know want to take over your story and insert themselves, and they want to do what they want. You know, it happens way too often, unfortunately, in the arts. What they essentially did was take their dream screenplay, which was what The Matrix meets V for Vendetta, pretty much, and they just kind of inserted her into it, like in a jagged way, because they were too busy obsessing. It was their opus, you know what I mean? And they thought they were doing her a favor by just cramming her in, but they really weren't, you know? So it became a mess. Yeah. It's just no wonder. And
their story
they took
nothing at all like the one you're working on now.
Oh, I mean, they're the first. Yeah, it actually has Lady Alchemy in it for more than a few moments. Okay, it's her book. Yeah, this is a completely different story. And it's the real deal Lady Alchemy story. It's not a V for Vendetta with with weird masks and incels or
With
whatever
like
they were doing.
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, doppelgangers, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, well, like you said, you're glad to see the book, like, I'm physically holding it, and that was kind of one of the main things for the cover that I was working on with artists, and I can't wait for Dario, the new artist, to work on the cover. But Pablo's done a version which you've used for this promo and stuff. But my main notes, like Vaughn has seen my extensive notes and mood boards, I gave them definitely the Mutus Liber to hold, because I think it's really important for people to go like, oh, it's about a book.
It's a book about a book.
It's a book about you.
Everyone in it is really hot, we promise.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Well, Dario's drawing it, so I would expect nothing less.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the physicality of the book here. 40-page outline, is that translating down to 40 pages of comic, more pages, less pages? Is it a one-shot? Is it cliffhanger with a next second issue coming? What's the design for this, the grand design?
This is your first full Lady Alchemy story with a beginning, middle, and end. It has a nice, satisfying ending, but it's also kind of a hopeful setup ending that will lead to more adventure.
Yeah, and I think that this story has a lot of real life parallels, not only with me, but with like general society. So I think it's something that we can continue on as long as I'm alive. I have, I have stories to tell, and like I said, there's personal story, but the general society kind of story. So like this one has what we talk about. It's kind of like Illuminati type shit, right? How would you describe these elites that are in the book, Vaughn?
Yeah, Illuminati's a good like broad stroke of it. They're like your classic. Well, they're kind of more mystical in this, because in that they have some. I don't want to give away too much, but they have some special connections to the ethereal, let's say, and they
Grove type shit,
yeah, it's like evil spirit cooking with Hillary Clinton type shit. It's like blood and. It's like when I was writing it, I kept thinking about the elite people who've seen everything and done everything. So they have to get hit by a bus just to feel anything. So they need that intense, kind of creepy, over the top, barbaric entertainment, Yeah,
and that's very much the nightclub that I worked at in real life in New York. It was, I explain it as like Studio 54, but today. So we had all sorts of, like Saudi princes or celebrities and Wall Street guys that have like tons of money, and they like, what do they do to have fun? They've seen it and done it all. And they come to this nightclub that I worked at. We had wild performances, like really, really wild. And that's also depicted in this, is that there's different performances, and I have my aesthetic and my vibe that's different than the other. Then I'm different than the other girls.
I'm not, I don't fit in. But it's awesome. It's awesome because it makes her stand out as a character right away. It's cool. What I love about it is Martina has done a good job at mixing the truth in her life and her performance art with mystical, fantastical comic book stuff. It fits so well together. The fact her character, for instance, Martina's performance philosophy is that I give. I put out energy and good feelings into the world to entertain you, whereas other performers take, and that becomes kind of a cool central part of the book.
All right, so let's talk about the plot a little bit here of Lady Alchemy versus these gnomes of Zurich, these Illuminati type characters. I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that she's not already fully powered Shazam Lady Alchemy at the beginning of the book, but that there's a sort of a hero's journey and an acquisition and a learning curve that takes place. Can you tell us a little bit about that without destroying the entire beginning to end?
Yeah, you're exactly right. And this is what this book one is, and why it's like a setup to, like, I do see, other books happening, is that she definitely is figuring out who she is and coming to, like the whole Batman story. He's like Peter Parker, and all these things happen, and then he ends up becoming this Spider-Man character. So yeah, totally. What do you say, Ron?
Yep, hero's journey. I was so pleasantly surprised when I saw her structure to see that it was a total perfect like hero's journey. She's learning about herself and learning about the powers that want to hurt and use her as it goes. And then she has to make the choice, you know, to stand up. And yes, there is like cool training stuff that has, you know, yeah, this has it all. She's not just, you know, some super powered chick at the end. She's more of a kind of innocent, hopeful, stars in her eyes performer who wants to make it big. And that's one of the cool central questions of the story is like, would you sell your soul to be famous? You know, we've all been there.
In fact, we Critical Blast is a publishing house as well as a website. And by the way, if you guys want to send us super chats, I see the chat is very active out there. Sorry, we don't do that here. If you want us to, then we just need 70 more subscribers to hit that subscribe button. And then maybe we can start taking your money if you really want to give it to us. But beyond that, what we do is we publish books. And we have our hardcover novel, Bulletproof Origins, out there on Amazon by Stephen J. Mitchell. This is our first young adult hardcover superhero story. And we've just closed the reading period on our anthology, The Devil You Know, which features a lot of people selling their souls to the devil in different encounters. And that concludes our intermission advertising break. Let's get back to our show. Question about the IGG, because this was probably one of the foundational Comicsgate IGGs as far as when it occurred. It was a while back, and it's, you know, Lady Alchemy is sometimes brought up as one of the titles of, oh, Comicsgate has failed because all these titles didn't happen. And it's not really fair to your title because of the extenuating circumstances that fell onto it. But how do you revive an IGG technically when it's run its course? It didn't produce the book that was being promised there, but it's still out there, and people can still back it, not back it, or is this open to new backers?
Yeah, I mean, because of all the mistakes, and you're right. Yeah, I mean, I came in when it was like really, you know, on the high. Everyone was on the high. Ethan was on the high, and he was like, "Yeah, promote. I'm all about promoting other creators, and that's a really, really great thing." And I'm honestly not even sure, other than Courteous, what hasn't produced or hasn't happened. But unfortunately, I had this situation where it was like this bullshit with my team, and so I have to fix this not only for myself and my reputation, but everyone that supported and endorsed me. So it's happening. Okay, I don't care. It's happening, and it is
start a new IGG with a new team.
Sorry, what was that?
You can't start a new IGG campaign with the new team and the new book. You've still got the old one sitting out there. So is there a way to have Indiegogo, hey, open this back up again because it's all...
Oh, it's still open. Yeah, you can go ahead and back a book or get some perks. It's still open. I'm keeping it open because I want to just fix it and get it back to everyone that backed it. And I'll get it done just with some mistakes. And it's still open.
It's as simple as changing the graphics and saying like, here's, you know, the old version of the book has been tossed. Let people know, and that you have a new good team and keep people updated with that and change the graphics and show off the new pages and cover. And I think that's pretty much all you got to do.
I think that most of the backers really backed because they heard my story on Ethan. You know, I got blacklisted. I had the same situation happen with SJWs that Ethan has had, that most Comicsgate creators have had. So most of the people that backed, their response was just like, I'm backing because I wanted to back you, you know, because I wanted to support, you know, this is my new career path since I got blacklisted performing, and they just wanted to help and support, and they get it and they like me. And to be honest, there really wasn't much art or story that was put out with the old campaign. They just wanted to back me and support me with what I've gone through. And most people are like, I don't care. Take your time. I'm just backing you. Keep us posted. So it's staying with the same campaign. There really wasn't much that I put out. And in fact, I stopped really streaming and going on Ethan's stuff or whatever, because the more I started realizing I'm not happy with the story and it didn't make sense to me, it wasn't something that I even knew how to get on and talk about. It was like, what is this story about? I don't get it. There's doppelganger, blacker than black blobs. Like like I don't know how to explain the story. So I don't even think any of the backers knew what that original story was supposed to be, other than Lady Alchemy performance artist.
Were there any of the? Did you have to redefine the perks levels from the original to the new one?
Did I have to what?
Did you have to redefine any of the perks that were with the original campaign? Because obviously, you can't get like signed by this person or, a Lady Alchemy postcard drawn by that person. It's a total new thing now.
Yeah. So the thing is, I paid for the artwork and I've spent a lot of money on getting things printed and made. I have, like, I didn't do, what is it called? Crypto fashion or whatever. I didn't do that. I got a company, my brother's friends, to silk screen hundreds of shirts and send it to me. They're all sitting around in my apartment in my mom's house. I have 90 pounds of posters that I've spent like $2,000 on, sitting around. So the art is there, and that's, the money was spent on those perks. But I actually don't mind, despite all the issues, and there is terrible artwork that he's done that I wasn't happy about in the actual book. But the artwork that he produced for like the campaign, I'm not against. And I kind of feel like these posters and shirts are kind of like this, if I can be cocky enough to say, what is it called? It's not vintage, but like, one of the first kind of versions of Lady Alchemy. And it actually has a Nagel. Do you know who Patrick Nagel is? It has a very Nagel kind of style to it and a very 80s kind of neon look to it. So I feel like they're actually kind of fun little perks and stuff. And I think it's pretty. I wear the shirts. So they're still out there. I gotta sell them in order to make my money back. So they're
yes,
there.
You do.
But I did update the perks as far as the cover of the new book, and I think I will have other perks out with the new artist stuff as well. But the priority right now is the book. Like I gotta get this book done.
So what kind of a timeline are you looking at now for, it's in your hands. It's in somebody's received the book. Vaughn, you're pretty much driving that train right now.
I mean, Martina's on it too. Dario is it 4 pages a week or more?
I think he was like, he's very detailed and he likes to really work on things and make sure it's perfect. So I think what he's comfortable with, he told me, is 3 pages a week. So right now I have 3 pages on me. He's probably going to send me a 4th page like tomorrow, and it should be 3 pages from there on out pretty consistently. He's been really good about staying in touch and explaining and getting artwork out. So it's happening. It's happening.
It's happening.
Is there anything you can show?
Yeah, sure. All right, I can share my screen. Let me sort it out. You guys can talk while I pull up files because I'm a boomer.
Sure. Well,
I just wanted to say something. I've been thinking about this since I joined onto this project and got to work with Martina. The guys who tried to railroad her and do their whatever self-insert JoJo's Adventure comic, they missed out on something really cool here. This is a much more spiritual story. The character of Lady Alchemy is actually really great. I feel like they passed it up because they got too caught up in their own stories, and ideas. It happens a lot in the writing world, people, they don't see the gold in front of them and they want to make it all about them. So try not to miss out on things like that, people.
Vaughn, you talked about, where to start when creating comics for the first time a while back here. And I got up and reached to my shelf. For anybody who's wondering, this is where you start. You start with these 2 books right here. And if you've got any kind of talent for creating comics, Scott McCloud will pretty much walk you through the rest of the schooling as far as how to put the story together. And then in Reinventing Comics, even making the story. You're talking about the printing and distribution, and this is, of course, hey, there you go. That'll work too. Yes, Mr. McCloud is the professor of it all.
Yeah, he's good.
Signed by when I interviewed him long time ago.
This will help you get started, but I also just say there's nothing wrong with running in head first and making a mess and making books that aren't necessarily great, but you learn from. I mean, I had to do that to get to where I am. I have all kinds of messy tips at comics over the years. So yeah, just make them. It's good to try to draw them yourself and write them because you learn a lot from that process too. It really is its own craft. You can't just make a screenplay into a comic. It doesn't really work. So.
Bringing up the screen here, Martina, that I can see you're sharing out here. So I'm gonna put this full screen for just a little bit so that we can get the best detail possible on it.
All right. Yeah. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right. Cool. Yeah. This is the first page. So, it's Lady Alchemy in New York City. You got the Chrysler building there in the background. It's very Art Deco and goth and cool. She's sitting up on her rooftop, looking at the city, contemplating being a star. And right before she's headed off to her gig to perform. And,
this was an awesome scene to write because it's our opener. And Dario, he understood that Deco was welcome here, and he said he loves Deco. So I was like, whoa, bonus! But writing this was so cool, man. It kind of hit home the themes of the book from the start. She's looking at the sunset, night and day are kind of touching. And she sees that and kind of understands the connection between everything. So it's like she kind of has a feel for alchemy and how everything's connected, but she's not there yet, And you also learn about her being just a big dreamer. She can't wait to perform and, hopes to be amongst the stars. So
now is Dario going to be coloring this as well?
No, we have another colorist. I'm thinking about going with Farah. She said she was available and she absolutely loved this first page. So she's going to be available in a few days to start coloring. I don't know if you know Farah. What did she do? Something starts with a P. Para something.
She does Peregrine and Door Kickers, and she's going to do Battle.
Didn't she?
Battle Brick Road.
What is it? The campus thing that Adam's doing?
Oh yeah, graduation day.
Yeah.
Or what is it? College of the Dead.
Yeah, College of the Dead. That's it. Yeah. Yeah, she's really talented and great. So hopefully we'll get some color ASAP. Page 2, he's about to send me any day now. But that's all sketched out. It's basically her going into the city, and you can see people looking at their cell phones, looking at the advertisements. I don't know if you guys have ever been to New York City, but all it is just you go into the subway and it's just ads, billboards, things, and you can't help but just go on your way to work, get mesmerized. You're just looking at things, and they all have this subliminal effect on you psychologically, and that's what's happening here.
Yeah, wait till we get to the Minority Report level of it.
Yeah. And then page 3, I need to download the big version. We have her head to the nightclub, and she's not really important yet. So she's kind of pushing through the crowd, trying to be like, hey, I'm here. I'm Lady Alchemy performing tonight.
And there's a poster of her right there on the wall that I thought was a cool addition. Yeah.
It's totally my costume. Yeah.
And yet they still don't know her. She's such a nobody. I liked that. It's kind of a cool mix.
Yeah.
What I like, what I'm seeing so far is that he's nailed the look of a real life person, but it still fits into the comic book world. A lot of the times when you see you'll open a Superman comic book and the one where he meets President Clinton, you can tell the artist is taking a picture of the president and sketched it in there, and it lacks the dynamism to match the characters. But that's not the case here. It's a very Nagel kind of look that he's put on here. Yeah.
No, I agree. I think I have that look of a comic book character anyway, so that's why it's all about it. But yeah, no, he did a really good job because we're always me and my team and my crew and with Vaughn, we're always looking at it like, wow, this is so much better than what I started with. So I'm really happy with it. He's perfect.
Yeah, you start putting these pictures up on your campaign, like Kevin Slatty has just asked us to do here.
Yeah.
And you will start seeing an uptick, I'm quite sure.
Yeah, I know. I'm excited. Plus, like, this is just the beginning too. So this actually also introduces when I do put this up on the campaign, you see page 4 here on the right. So she's getting pushed out of the way because there's another character walking through. This lady with the shoulders, and she's just a little bit of an older broad that's super important, and the crowd parts for her as she walks with her bodyguard or whatever. And it's kind of like, who is this lady? Why is she so special? What's going on?
And there's this brief moment where they eye each other, you know, and you're like, oh man, like the conflict begins, you know. It's very subtle, but it's there. And also what's cool about this scene when I wrote it, it's Lady Alchemy staring at her in awe too, kind of, because she wishes she could do this, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, just looking at these pages right here, you might want to consider a tier of the Lady Alchemy black and white version. I mean, everyone's going to love it colored, I'm sure, but just these stark contrasts here and these exquisitely detailed lines and the cleanness of the whole thing, this would make a great black and white book.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I mean, I love them in black and white. It's crazy how color adds like, whoa, you know, like, wow, every step of the way. I mean, even from the sketch, it's kind of like, oh, wow, that's great. That looks cool. And then when he inks it, it's like, I didn't even see that in the sketch. Like, what? So I feel like color does the same thing. It's going to be another level of like, I didn't even notice that when it was in black and white. Like, this looks so cool. But yeah, I love it in black and white too. I'm really happy. I can just stare at the pages. I do that sometimes. I'm just like on my phone, like, hey, pages. But yeah, that's what we're working with right now. And it's just, we're getting them in. And every week there's going to be a few pages and I'll update. The ball is rolling. It's happening now. So thank God.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be looking at the pages on their phones, especially if there's a PDF version of this as a tier.
There isn't yet, but that's something to consider. There's a lot of stuff to consider now at this point, but I just want to prove it to people right now that the ball's rolling and start showing things. And I think as the pages come in, and I remember Ethan saying this and stuff too, was that not to be afraid to show pages and stuff, because it's not like it's Batman or you're going to spoil something. It's like no one knows what the Lady Alchemy story is. So getting these pages out, I think, is more of an incentive for people to be like, oh, like that's kind of cool. I get what's happening. And then they want to back it. And then they get to read the text that's on the page. This is just the art.
I think you watch enough of Ethan's streams, you can probably read all of Cyberfrog from beginning to end.
Right.
Just the pages that he shows. So yeah, definitely put them out there because people don't care about spoilers. When DC did 52 years ago, that weekly series they did, there was this big brouhaha about some guy in the warehouses who was reading them a day in advance and posting like panel by panel what was going on. And all it did was drive the sales up on this book. But everyone complained about spoilers online, so DC said, no, you got to stop doing that now.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with. I think that people are, they deserve something. I owe them something, and I don't think it will hurt me to be like, okay, look, this is what I've been doing. This is what's going on now, and
it only helps. Every page is a new opportunity to promote. That's the way I see it. That's why most of Monster MD is all over the internet.
Exactly. So 40-page finished product. 46 pages. I mean, we're
40 pages.
Story plus pinups and everything, I guess. Or are there any other pages other than story?
Yeah, so there's 40 pages, but Dario has been sending me a bunch of amazing sketches. Actually, let me show you those, which I may sell as a tier for, what is it called? like for a perk, like original art or something. Here, let me share my screen again. Okay. This one is my favorite like sketch that he's done so far. It's like, oh, I love it. Can you see it?
Get up there.
Let me just screen this. Hold on. Rearranging my desktop here.
That's Martina, that sketch. That is Martina. That's why it's so great. I'd almost love to see a finished inked version too.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait for him to ink this one. This one's my favorite. He has a few. He told me to actually send him. I got to talk to the letterer guy because he asked me if I had a logo like his logo to slap on there. But I just did it myself on Photoshop. But I got to talk to the letterer and see how that works because I don't know how any of this stuff works. And I'm like, can you give me a graphic? Can we get a logo here?
You're doing a great job for not knowing anything.
Thank you. Yeah. And then this is another sketch he's working on that is, so when she's a performer, Lady Alchemy, just like what you saw in the other page where there's like the poster of her outside the club. And like what you said, the whole Goddess Columbia aesthetic. This is her when she's performing in the club. She does like a fallen angel performance, which is a little bit of foreshadowing because of her special Nephilim blood. And so that's the costume that we're working on here. Actually, I think he may, that's the one. So that's exciting. There's 3 different main costume changes. She starts off in like black, that you saw that black outfit and the gold cross earrings, and which I love because New Yorkers wear black. I love black. I would wear black that's literally what I would wear. Not that outfit, but black going to the club. That was me. But then she has the performance costumes. So that's a really fun aspect of Lady Alchemy too, is like her being a performer and these extravagant costumes. It just adds another dimension to it. And then towards the end, she ends up transmuting herself and has a gold outfit. So the black to gold is very Alchemy as well.
And she calls forth her spirit sword, Sky Splitter. At least I think that's what I called it. Which is, she can use to take out the demons and stuff. Yeah. I just thought that was a must for her. I was
going to ask about the powers on this one because Lady Alchemy, if you're going to call yourself Lady Alchemy, your powers should be alchemical. It's, you don't want to confuse the bad guys by going out dressed in red and calling yourself the Green Spider. It just, your name should reflect your power. So what does alchemy mean here? Because most people, your layperson says, oh yeah, lead to gold. So I guess she changes lead to gold, but
well, no,
knows alchemy, it's more than that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, alchemy, if I talk about it myself, there's the inner work and the outer work. The inner work is the psychological, the spiritual transformation, which she goes through. There is this psychological transformation that happens. She is not the same person at the end of the book than how she started. And that also physically happens with the lead to gold, the black to gold kind of thing. But as far as the powers, this like superhero thing, it's kind of like, I would say, I guess it's kind of supernatural, but because it's like magic and shit, but it's more so kind of like, I don't know. I would say Batman, but it's less gadgets. And I don't actually know anything about Harry Potter, but I know there's like alchemy kind of magic stuff in there. But it's sort of like she gets this book. She starts to learn how to have her God-given powers because of her bloodline and her ability to, her Nephilim blood has that spark, something a little bit special, which she can have these powers, but she doesn't know how to tap into it yet until she does these rituals and she can start to summon archangels and even demons. There's angels and demons aren't always a bad thing. So I think there's a lot of stuff to work with in the future because there's so much information about alchemy. There's so many different spells. There's so many countless different angels that you can summon or demons. There's so many different things with alchemy that you can work with. Those are her towers.
So it's kind of got a spiritual edge, you know, like she summons archangels, and each one of those archangels will be able to give her certain abilities. There's, for instance, I think Raphael is the angel of healing. So obviously, you know, he'd patch you up. Then you have Michael with his vengeful badass sword, who's kind of like your super warrior angel. And he does something pretty amazing in this book that I'm not going to spoil, but I think people will love it. And there's this cool spiritual meets alchemical, you know, side to it. And her powers also are about being able to, what alchemists call seeing beyond the veil, which I think is like the coolest name for something. You see beyond the veil, you can see the world as it really is. So the posters and the propaganda and all the negative stuff sucking your energy dry, she can see it for what it is. And it's this like evil spiritual demon kind of reaching out at you. It's kind of creepy, you know. It's about, you know, which is a cool visual for this like whole new world she is entering as a character.
Now, when I hear, you know, Nephilim, I think back to the, you know, the pre-Noah days when, you know, there were giants in the land, and, you know, that the land had to be cleansed because there weren't supposed to be angel demon babies and angel human babies running around, which were what these Nephilim were. As somebody who is a Nephilim, is she the product of an angel and a human, or is she like the ancestral line down from an angel and a human? How strong is that angelic blood? How much has it been diluted throughout time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And again, this is where it's like, I could go on forever about the parallels of what is actually real life going on in this book, and then how I took it to a fantastical comic book way. But the whole Nephilim thing I became obsessed with because I found out that I have like a really rare blood type. You know, I have the Rh negative blood type. Well, there's A, B, and O, and then there's a plus minus factor. And everybody, the Rh factor is that plus minus. And the plus means you have a protein in your blood that genetically links you to the rhesus monkey. And if you don't have, and 85% of the world population has that protein. And then there's a small population that doesn't have the protein, and they don't know why they don't have it. They don't know where it came from or why they are like that. But basically I can't have plus blood in me, but plus people can have negative blood in them. When I get pregnant, my guy is a plus and I get pregnant and my baby's a plus, my body will physically attack the fetus and kill it because it's like, it's not your kind. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? What's wrong with me? I thought that as far as Darwin goes, it's, you know, it's all about procreation. I was like, doesn't that make me not desirable? So I started looking it up, and I found out that other creatures in nature, when those complications occur, is because they're crossbreeding. And I was like, what the fuck? Does that mean we're like different beings, like coexisting and crossbreeding? Like, what is going on? Like, oh my God. So I started researching even more, and I found about the Nephilim and the fallen angels, and they created this separate like bloodline, and they brought knowledge of alchemy to humans, metallurgy, warfare, makeup, all these things. And I'm like, oh, that's me. In my own weirdo artsy mind, I was like, that's like, I'm a Nephilim. You know, like, yeah, that's my blood. Like, my ancient ancestors were fallen angels. Like, that's me.
Just go to the Red Cross. Like, what's your blood type? Nephilim. See how they handle that.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's crazy and weird, but
so negative, we went through the whole thing.
What was that?
I'm O positive. My wife's O negative, so we went through that whole, you know, check the baby thing. So
there you go. Yeah, yeah.
I'm more monkey
O negative is amazing.
Which you know, if anybody who knows us will guarantee would validate that. Yeah, he's the monkey, she's the angel.
Exactly. So that's my way of like being a weirdo artist with my weird beliefs and like taking it to the comic book and making it even more fantastical. So yeah, I would say she's like a descendant, like it's in her lineage, like more of like her ancient ancestors were like the fallen angels, but how those powers can work with her and how she discovers that and what that entails is what's exciting in the book. It brings it all the alchemy stuff to life.
All right, so to bring everybody back who may have dropped off the book earlier when they didn't think something was going to come out of it, and now that they can see something is going to come into it, what could they reasonably expect as a timeline for, here it is. We know it's 4 pages a day, or 4 pages a week. You've got 4 pages. So we're looking at another 9 weeks minimum if he can stay on that kind of a schedule for production, which is 2 months. Then there's the coloring, there's the, the lettering, binding processes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good question. And again, this is my first time doing it, and I made many mistakes. So I don't know. Hopefully we're getting these, consistently 3 pages a week. And then we will start handing them off like as they're coming in to the colorist. And then when the colorist finishes, start passing them off to the letterer. So they will overlap, and then I think it's only going to be a few extra weeks at the end tacked on just so that the letterer can catch up with the colorist and everything. I don't know. I don't know. What do you think, Vaughn? I
think we're going to, I'm thinking like 12 weeks just because he's doing 3 a week, 12, 13 weeks. But it's, we got a nice process going. We're going to streamline it as much as we can, like hand off things to the colorist when we can. She has a very busy schedule from what I've heard. But also we've got an awesome, at least I'd like to think we have Eric Weathers, my good buddy, to letter the book. And he's a fast, efficient letterer. So good. Yeah, guys, it's going to get done. You're going to see a lot of updates now. You're going to see better art, better story, better everything. So, yeah, stick with us because it's going to be worth it. Trust me. We're already talking about new ideas for the next story. I mean, it's getting cool.
Yeah. That's a good sign.
Yeah, and I think that like now that I've sorted out my team and the process, it's not going to be this 2-year-long campaign bullshit next time. So I'm hoping people kind of see what happened, see that I fixed it, see the new team, and we can get some artwork and storyline down before any second campaign even happens so that it's only going to be literally a few months and people will get their book.
Yeah.
So we got the chat going here. There seems to be a chant going on here, and I'm assuming one of you will probably know what this means. Diguan lives.
Yeah. Diguan.
Yeah.
Diguan lives. Yeah, it's just kind of like this weird inside joke with some of my Discord friends. We got Pablo in the chat. He's a great artist. He's done you shared some of his Lady Alchemy versions for the promo vid. I don't even know how to explain Diguan. Guys in the chat, how am I supposed to explain Diguan? Vaughn's like
very carefully. I don't know.
I'm like DG Juan lives. Is this some sort of May the 4th parody?
He's a like. I mean, think of his face is in. I can't tell if it's an ultimate pleasure or if he's actually really nervous, but he's got his head tossed back in ecstasy.
He's like a black midget from like an 80s VHS porno cover. And it's just the funniest thing.
It's just bad porno covers making us laugh. I mean, that's what they're for.
Is it any worse? Is it any worse than Norman Osborn's O face that we saw in Spider-Man when it was revealed that he and
it's definitely an O face. It's a
a little O.
Okay, a little O. Okay. You don't explain Diguan. Okay.
Now you're in, RJ. Or now you know whenever we talk about Diguan, you're in on the joke, okay?
Okay. First rule of Diguan is we don't explain Diguan.
Shit, that's right. You don't explain Diguan, says Rainbow.
You just send Diguan randomly to your friends.
That's true. Well, us, we know Diguan now. It's our thing now.
And of course, Pablo explains it all. The midget cop was framed for the murder of his wife and goes to the world of midget porn to find the killer. No, I would actually Vaughn, you found your next book.
There it is. Beautiful. The dark and short world of midget porn.
I think you could get Cecil to write that. and he'd be all over it. So
yeah.
Anyway, we're kind of closing in on an hour here, and that's what we usually kind of do. I don't want to drag it along just to fluff it out here, but I do appreciate you guys being on here, and I think I'm now interested enough in Lady Alchemy to get in there and back it. I hope that everybody in the chat will.
Thank you.
Everybody in the rewatches do that. We do have the link to the Indiegogo right down there in the description, so it's the very first thing you see. So definitely hit on that and get out there and reback Lady Alchemy if you backed it before and got out of it. This is probably the first resurrected IGG campaign that will walk out of the tomb.
I'm a necromancer.
Yes.
Lady Alchemy is the new zombie Jesus.
Brought it back from the dead. Oh God. Well, thank you so much, RJ. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Same here.
It's been fun.
For everybody watching, please do hit that subscribe. Get us up to 1,000, where we want to be. If you want to help the site for free, all you got to do is just click that link to criticalblast.com. Let the ads take care of your ticket. Just check out our interviews and our reviews. We all appreciate you coming by. And we will be back Wednesday night with the LCS guys, who we've been interviewing every 2 weeks, and how they're dealing with this whole Corona shutdown all around the country. We'll have Yule Carter from California, Michael Tierney from Arkansas, Dave Dyer from Illinois, and Perch from the internet will be there. So we've been talking with them about how to survive this Corona thing while comic shops can't sell comics. Hope to see you guys again Wednesday night. Everybody, peace out. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.